Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. First up, thanks again for all your support. The likes and subscriptions are really helping the channel, and I'm enjoying reading your comments. I read them all. Please keep them coming. Today, Chesky Records, still going strong 44 years after brothers David and Norman Chesky founded it in 1978. Prides itself on audiophile grade recordings of unique artists of all genres. I've enjoyed CDs over the years from singers such as Rebecca Pidgeon and Christy Barron. Today, Chesky is producing CDs and downloads in 24-bit 192 kHz using binaural recordings. But today, we are looking back to some of Chesky's superb vinyl reissues, mainly from the 1980s. Even with hard-bitten audiophiles, Chesky classical reissues often go under the radar, especially compared to those from analog recordings and classic records before that. And that's a shame. Many of the classical vinyl reissues are from the 80s and were mastered using tube gear. Also, when releasing RCA Shaded Dogs and the like, they couldn't get the rights to the original covers. And for what seemed a shame for many years, now, at least for me, is a blessing. I've grown to love the individuality of the Chesky classical covers. To me, they have a special ID. I have 5 in-house to discuss. My Chesky Earl Wild sealed Rachmaninoff Concerto No. 2 did not arrive in time to show you. All the others on show today were purchased sealed or near mint off Discogs or eBay for around $40. Such great deals, such great sound. A reminder that many Cheskys were pressed at RTI on Teldec vinyl. So, let's have some fun. So first up is an absolutely wonderful reissue by Chesky. This is Brahms' Symphony No. 4 in E minor, Opus 98. This is the Royal Philharmonic, conducted by Fritz Reiner. An interesting pairing. This was recorded at Walthamstow Town Hall by Kenneth Wilkinson and produced by Charles Gerhardt, that fantastic team, and it was recorded for Reader's Digest in 1962. John Koopman recut it for Chesky in 1988. Now this is an interesting recording because if in fact was Reiner's favorite record. Imagine someone like Reiner recording all those amazing Shaded Dogs with the Chicago Symphony. And this little old Reader's Digest Symphony No. 4 by Brahms was his favorite. But there's a reason for that. It's an absolutely magnificent recording and performance. In 1962, the Royal Philharmonic was still in pretty good shape. And I guess Reiner coming to conduct them would be an event. And Mr. Reiner would make it an event, even if it was for Reader's Digest. So yes, you can buy this one with absolute confidence that you're going to get a beautiful sounding recording. Again, a lot of it was cut on tube gear, and it's absolutely beautiful. The strings are beautiful. His interpretation is amazingly warm. The playing is first class. And I've heard this, I had this originally on CD, and it was great on CD. And I remember listening to it on a Jeff Rowland integrated amplifier, which was Class D in those days, but Jeff Rowland Class D, which means it was wonderful. And I remember getting very emotional hearing the recording, and my goodness, and I actually bought the integrated amplifier. It sounded so good. And then I finally managed to get it on vinyl. Again, not expensive at Discogs, but I would seriously search that out. That is one of the great Brahms 4s, and definitely, Reiner's favorite recording. And you'll hear why when you put it on. This is another interesting pairing. Kind of an unknown conductor, Massimo Freche. He had a career in the US for a while. This is again with the Royal Philharmonic, with the same team as at Walthamstow Town Hall, with Kenneth Wilkinson and Charles Gerhardt in 1962. Gorgeous sound. Jim Shelton recut this in 1986 for Chesky. It's very warm, it's very beautiful. I had a shootout between this and the Paris Conservatoire Etoile for Argenta. And this one, not only for, the Argenta's on Speaker's Corner, and it's very, very good. And a very good original recording, but this is very special. The playing is exceptionally good. The Royal Philharmonic, again, in 1962 were in pretty good shape. I'm not sure how scared they would be with Massimo Freche. He may have been the world's best conductor, I don't know. But, with Reiner standing in front of them, trust me, he got their attention. I'm sure Maestro Freche did as well. But it's a great performance. And again, look at the covers. I mean, the covers are absolutely beautiful. Before I used to think these guys were second-class covers, but the Chesky idea is beautiful, and the covers are great. And this time we have a red label, and it's just beautiful. It's worthy of your dollars if you can find it, and again, wasn't expensive. This is a very lovely Beethoven Pastoral Symphony No. 6, Chicago Symphony with Fritz Reiner, the ubiquitous Fritz Reiner. This was recorded in Orchestra Hall by Louis Layton for RCA in 1962, and it was recut by Jeremy Kipnis for Chesky in 1992, so a little later. You can see slightly different printing, and again, a lovely cover, and the red label. It's a very clean pressing. I didn't think I get the seal. I think I got it near mint. It's very good. It's not the world's best pastoral. It's beautifully played. It's very well recorded. It's very much like Reiner's 5th and 7th with Chicago Symphony. You're going to get very fine playing. It's not going to set the world on fire. It's not Carlos Kleiber, for sure. And it's not Klemperer. But it's very, very good. It's very good. And if you need an individual pastoral and you see this on Chesky and you want a vinyl pastoral, this is as good as any. That's lovely. Now to one of the great Cheskys. This is Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe. This is done with the Boston Symphony Orchestra under Charles Munch, and this is an old recording. This was originally done for RCA by Louis Layton in 1955. Now this one is very special because it was recut by the late, great Tim Paravicini. Tim died a couple of years ago. Wonderful man. Using his custom-built all-tube cutting system. I'm not sure what date Chesky released this, but it must have been in the mid-'80s. We're going to have a shootout between the two great Daphnis and Chloes. And this is one of them, but I'm going to be using the analog recordings pressing, recut by Ryan K. Smith. It's very, very good. But this is very fine. If you can find this for $30, something, I would grab it, especially if you like to collect different types of pressings. Again, Teldec vinyl, RTI. The performance, if you don't know it, you should. It's the piece is wonderful. It's one of the original pieces that Ravel wrote for symphony orchestra. A lot of his pieces were arranged from his piano works. I played it a couple of times. It's basically like a flute concerto. It's the flute player's greatest piece. It has one of the most famous solos written for the flute. The flute is an important, integral part of the story. There's even some lovemaking, and the flute is the integral part of the lovemaking. I can tell you that, and we'll talk more about that about the shootout. But if you want one of the great Daphnis and Chloes, this is one of them. This is one of the two. I'll talk to you about the other one when we do the shootout. But if you can't get the, I think the originals are very hard to come by in 1955, and they were also issued in mono, which this piece would not be good in mono, I don't think. It's very lush, it's very loud, it's very dynamic. But this has everything, and of course it's Tim Paravicini. You can't go wrong. The man was a genius. And he was the guy recutting it, not even engineering it. Louis Layton was also a brilliant man. So there you go. That's a must. If you get some Cheskys, I would get that second. I'm saving my favorite to last. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is my favorite. I just got another copy of this sealed. I had it for about 15 or 20 years. I searched it out when you couldn't really get secondhand records as easily as you can today. Discogs wasn't around. eBay was in its infancy. And unfortunately, it got a little bit wrecked. I played it so much. So I gave that one to my nephew, and he's enjoying it. But it's got a little bit of noise on it. I wanted this performance, which is absolutely magnificent, to be in pristine condition. So why I love this so much? Well, Barbaroli has a way with Sibelius that's really quite magnificent. He builds each movement beautifully. Early Sibelius is a lot easier to play and conduct than later Sibelius, as he got a little more enigmatic in his rhythms. But it's still not an easy piece to bring off, and Barbaroli just builds it and builds it. So the playing, of course, is going to be wonderful. The orchestra was full of even superstars, even after the Philharmonia had come and taken some of them. But The playing is absolutely wonderful, but the recording, oh my goodness, it's just spectacular. Kenneth Wilkinson in Walthamstow Town Hall. But even more than that, the recut is so tubey, it's so beautiful. The string sections are so lush and beautiful, not gooey or syrupy, just beautifully defined but beautiful sounding. And the first movement actually of the Sibelius Symphony No. 2, I've never heard done better. There are other great performances of Sibelius No. 2, but really, if you can get this one on Chesky, it really is one of my absolute favorite recordings I have in my collection. Again, interesting cover, but beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. And the red label. So very highly recommended. So that's about it that I have in-house. I will tell you there are some other Chesky recordings that are very, very good, and I'll put them up on the screen. I've heard them in the past. I've heard them at shows. I've heard them at friends' houses. They're very good. They did a very good Power of the Orchestra, the famous Shaded Dog. And they also did a very good Petrushka conducted by I think it's Oscar Danon. I don't know the conductor at all, but it's got a very good reputation. They also did some very fine Reiner Shaded Dogs, including the magnificent, one of my favorite recordings, the Prokofiev Lieutenant Kijé with the Song of the Nightingale by the Chant de Rossignol by Stravinsky. And they also did other Reiners as well, including the Reiner Sound, which is also magnificent. I have those on Analog Productions with Ryan K. Smith's recent cuts, 2013, 14. They're amazing. But, you know, sometimes they get out of print and they get very expensive. And you could do a lot worse than spending $30 on a near mint or even $40 on a sealed copy of one of these Cheskys and just enjoying them. So that's it. Please don't disregard Chesky. Of course, many of you don't. You're audiophiles. You love great vinyl of any company. But a lot of people, myself included, kind of overlook the Cheskys. And I know David Chesky is still very active in New York City, not only as a founder and manager of Chesky, but he's also a very fine musician. So you can Google David Chesky and see what he's up to. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the support, as usual. We've got 3 or 4 new videos coming up soon. So please watch, and please keep subscribing. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.